Thank you, Honourable Speaker, sir. I look across the floor, I don't see the boom packets that they brought yesterday, except for a few.
Only one.
It tells me that the opposition are inconsistent in the messages that they want to tell us. But, Honourable Speaker, sir, someone who is fascinated with agricultural machinery and technology, I would propose to the opposition to come with an alternative. Let's bring a boom sprayer into this house. Because we are at the crossroads, and the Honourable Leader of the Opposition talked about, oh now I see a few more packets coming up. They don't even have faith in what they have told us. But Honourable Speaker, sir, the Honourable Leader of the Opposition talked about the revival of the agriculture sector, and there was a lot of comments about the non-sugar agriculture sector. So let's start with the boom sprayer this morning. Because when I heard the interventions from the other side, we are at the crossroads. Some of us want to move forward, and that's this side of the house, and we need to maintain that. But some are undecided and stagnant, and some are living in the past, Honourable Speaker, sir. So, but the biggest worry that I have is to choose what goes into the tank so that they can be sprayed with the right chemical this morning. Because some, I would propose, we need to get rid of them. That is what a farmer would do when crops are not yielding. Get rid of the crops that are not, and that is why I suggested bring the boom sprayer this morning. Because we need to eliminate the unproductive crops. And Honourable Speaker, sir, for those that are undecided, probably some hormones will help. You know, when we talk about coconuts, we talk about the senile trees. And some are probably come to that age where they are senile and not bearing fruit, so they probably need some hormones. And unfortunately, Madam Honourable Speaker, sir, he has talked about it. That is why let's get rid of this boom detergent and let's bring a boom sprayer so that after this budget address and debate, we can all move forward for a better Fiji. Honourable Speaker, sir, let me do a few rebuttals. Let me start with the Honourable Leader of the NFP, who is always selective of his interventions. Let me quote the Chief Economist of the IMF. Honourable Speaker, sir, and this article is dated 10th April. This is June. This is Gita Gopinath, the IMF Chief Economist. And this is a statement about the global economy. The global economy has entered a synchronized slowdown. I'll be very slow so that you hear me well. Honourable Speaker, sir. The IMF recently downgraded its forecast for global economic growth for the 4th time in a 9-month period. We are now in a significantly weakened global expansion, according to the IMF Chief Economist. That is the global state of the economy. Honourable Speaker, sir, I've always talked about the external environment that dictates change within. Let me say that again, Honourable Speaker, sir. I've always talked about this in this House. The external environment dictates the change within. When the external changes are happening, we have to look within and do the necessary changes as well. 1, so that we can survive. 2, so that we can also be current with the trends that are happening in the external environment. Otherwise, we will always be reactive, something that we cannot afford. This government is always proactive, Honourable Speaker, sir. We make the analysis, we make the adjustments as necessary so that we survive. We are a small economy. We are a small economy. We are a small country. But we are punching above our own weight and doing all our best within the limited resources that we have so that we can provide for our people. It's not an expansionary budget, Honorable Leader of the NFP. And let me say sorry to the Honorable Leader of the NFP because he said, oh, 2018 budget, they've run out of ideas. 2019, they've run out of money. But let me say sorry to the Honorable Leader of the NFP because it was those ideas in 2018 that brought us here to this side of the house. The change that he promised did not happen because the difference was in the ideas. And those ideas are here, Honorable Speaker, sir. And the Honorable Leader of the Opposition talked about the budget is about leadership. The leadership is here in this side of the house. We never ran out of ideas, Honorable Speaker, sir. And we never ran out of money. It's just a it's just a slowdown in the economy, and therefore we need to adjust, and that is what responsible governments do. We are a responsible government and we have a responsibility. I look at the Honorable Tisawa who is smiling. Honorable Speakers, you need to bear with the Honorable President of the Rewa Rugby Union, because I think he was in that state of psychological paralysis because Rewa and Northland have been demoted and we have given the opportunity for Taylor to remain in the Skipper Cup. Honorable Speakers, I'll come back with a few rebuttals if I have time. But Honorable Speakers, Honorable Prime Minister, Honorable Leader of the Opposition, Honorable Members, I rise today in the Honorable House to lend my full support to the 2019-20 budget. Honorable Speaker, I personally wish to congratulate the Honorable Attorney General and Minister for Economy and his team for articulating a visionary budget. Honorable Speaker, sir, the process of budget making is at the heart of successful governments, and since it is an expression of public policy, carrying with it the authority of the law, and an ideal budget must be an instrument to secure Fiji's future and advance the values of equality, fairness, empowerment, good governance, and inclusivity. 2019-20 budget delivers exactly that. It's a budget that is forward-looking, innovative, and a bold budget. It is one that will take Fiji to the next level. Honorable Speaker, sir, my submission to this August House today is twofold, reflecting my dual portfolios as Minister for Defense and National Security Minister, and of course as Foreign Affairs Minister. Honorable Speaker, sir, allow me to focus first on the Ministry of Defense and National Security and the mandated government agencies responsible for both security and defense. I've stated this in this House already, Honorable Speaker, sir. We need economic growth for security, for national security. Economic development is important for security. And at the same time, security is also important for economic growth, Honorable Speaker, sir. And that is why you will see the allocations given to the ministry, because we have had sustained growth in the last 10 years, and we can continue to do so if we create the environment. It's not just about the fiscal policies. Let me say, as Honorable Minister for Defense, Honorable Speaker, sir, that we have to create the environment, an investor-friendly environment, and that is why national security and defense is so important and cannot be compromised. We cannot bring in investors if we are robbing people at knife point. And that is why the role of the police is so important. Rewalda. That is why we need a strong and very efficient military and, of course, police force for the policing and, of course, the maintenance of security. Let me go into the details. The national budget, Honorable Speaker, sir, recognizes the strategic position of this portfolio of service as an enabler in the government's national socio-economic and political development landscape through the maintenance of a safe, secure, and prosperous Fiji. Honorable Speaker, the Ministry of Defense and National Security is one of the 4 ministries that has had its budget increased through the allocated total budget of 16.5 million, and this consists of 15.5 million for operating expenditure and 700,000 for capital expenditure and 300,000 for VAT. We have a very small team at the headquarters, Honorable Speaker, sir, and this allocation will ensure that the Ministry headquarters is able to operate and effectively deliver its normal services. Honorable Speaker, the Aftercare Fund for the veterans has been reallocated to the Ministry of Defense and National Security. The budget allocation of 11.7 million has been transferred to the Defense Ministry and is the main reason behind the substantial increase in its overall budget. The move is timely and appropriate, Honorable Speaker, sir, as this will ensure that the integration of support and assistance to our deserving servicemen and women. The allocation of 200,000 to progress the upgrading of the National War Memorial Project is another initiative by this government in recognition of their selfless sacrifice. Honorable Speaker, sir, Fiji as a maritime state is obligated to ensure the freedom and safety of navigation within our waters. The allocation of 400,000 phase 1 of the 3DP relocation project from Tobong Level Base to Laming Lighthouse Facility ensures the compliance to the maritime conservations which we are party to. I have already explained this in this House. This was a role that used to be with Telecom Fiji and then went on to the Marine Department, but now it has been back with Fiji's Naval Division, Honorable Speaker, sir. Honorable Speaker, the Ministry is also delegated the ministerial assignment and the responsibility over defense and national security legislation, and I am determined to review the archaic and outdated RFMF Act and the Fiji Police Act. We have started with the Fiji Police Act, in fact both, Honorable Speaker, sir, and we have the assistance of the New Zealand government for the RFMF Act, including the Manual of Military Law, Honorable Speaker, sir. Honorable Speaker, as a small island developing state in the Pacific with an ambition of global and regional recognition as a sensible business hub of the region, it is imperative that the nation address the diverse security threats that exist in the region. These include climate change, transnational organized crimes such as human and drug trafficking, and cybersecurity threats in order to better respond to these threats. And the overall budget allocation for the Ministry headquarters will ensure that operational mechanism capacity and policy advisory support, which includes the national security strategy, is established within the Ministry. Honorable Speaker, as the Central Coordinating Agency of Defense and National Security, the Ministry will require constant interagency collaboration with relevant national stakeholders, and the Ministry's collaboration efforts also extends to the region as a key player for regional defense and cooperation. We've just hosted the South Pacific Defense Ministers meeting a few weeks back, Honorable Speaker, sir, and also we are looking forward to hosting the Melanesian Spearhead Group Police Ministers meeting. Honorable Speaker, the materialization of our bilateral engagements with Australia's financial and expert in the BlackRock redevelopment project has seen the construction of the project, and I have already briefed this Honourable House on it. But let me just touch on peacekeeping very quickly, Honourable Speaker, sir. Peacekeeping is a central plank of our foreign policy. It also has immense economic benefits to the nation through personal development for our servicemen and women and the significant multiplier effects of the nations of peacekeeping throughout Fiji. But I've stated in this House, one of the priorities that we will look into, Honourable Speaker, sir, is the reviewing of our national commitments, particularly on our standby arrangements, consistent with the HIPPO, the High-Level Independent Panel report by the United Nations. But let me say here, Honourable Speaker, sir, in line with HIPPO and the changing dynamics of peacekeeping throughout the world, that it now demands international peacekeeping that has evolved and has such a set of self-sustainability requirements has been required of all true contributing countries. This includes the advancement of the Women, Peace and Security agenda that progresses SDG 5. gender equality and women's empowerment. The ministry will continue to work with its two forces in aligning its contribution to the set of the new UN requirements. Honourable Speaker, sir, this brings me to emphasize the constitutional roles of the Republic of Fiji Military Forces and the Fiji Police Force and the respective budgeted allocation for the two forces. Both forces require a vibrant and conducive platform to shape and drive their future operations. Considering Fiji's vast EEZ and the porous borders, there is a need to enhance maritime surveillance capabilities of the Naval Division. The provision of RFNS Savanada and RFNS Bolasinga would no doubt enhance capabilities, and the allocation of 1.1 million, Honourable Speaker, sir, for the recruitment of 40 personnel to operate the two vessels is therefore timely. Honourable Speaker, in modernizing the RFMF facilities and capability development, 2.2 million is allocated to the upgrade and renovation of military facilities and procurement of specialized equipment. Honourable Bulitabu, this is an ongoing project based on the interview in which you quoted to the Commander RFMF. We have been providing funds for the upgrade of the infrastructure and, of course, equipment and capabilities within the RFMF as well. And this year we were completing the armory, the work for all the stores at QEB. Honourable Speaker, sir, let me talk about the Fiji Police Force, which has notably progressed in its capacity and capability. As envisaged in its 5-year restructure and reform, Phase 1 focuses on human capital development, and we are into Phase 2, Honourable Speaker, sir. I've already briefed the House on what has occurred during Phase 1, and for the second phase, and part of the allocation is given in this year's budget, will involve the reform and restructure focuses on operational equipment, enhancement, continued prioritized recruitment, and absorption of 995 special constables. I think the Honourable Ngaboka raised the previous question about this, and Honourable Speaker, sir, we are regularizing the special constables who are already employed over the years so that they can join the Fiji Police Force. On that, Honourable Speaker, sir, let me just say that our fight against drugs will continue, and the new allocation of 800,000 to the Fiji Police Force will provide our law enforcers with the capability to meet operational needs, complemented by the provision of 7.5 million to progress the construction and maintenance of critical infrastructure. May I also add, Honourable Speaker, sir, that the capability improvements extend to our Maritime Police Unit with the allocation of a little over 727,000 for small patrol boats. Honourable Speaker, sir, in the laws of Fiji, the police is responsible for the search within the 12-mile zone, and beyond that, it's the responsibility of the Fiji Navy. I think I have also alluded this in this Honourable House earlier, Honourable Speaker, sir. Let me just quickly touch on foreign affairs. Honourable Speaker, sir. Honourable Speaker, as the Minister responsible for foreign affairs, I wish to acknowledge the Honourable Prime Minister, whose enduring leadership of this portfolio I have been privileged to assume. The Honourable Prime Minister, like no Fijian leader before him, has managed to enhance Fiji's global footprint that has connected the world to Fiji. His strong and unprecedented leadership in recent times as chair of the International Sugar Organization, president of G77 in China, co-chair of the United Nations Oceans Conference, president of the UN Climate Conference, COP23, and the convener of the Climate Action Pacific Partnership Forum, has effectively anchored Fiji's reputation as a global leader and a trusted ally and advocate for multilateralism. Why do I say this, Honourable Speaker, sir? Because multilateralism is currently under threat, and therefore we need strong leadership, and we are thankful that we have a leader from a small country like Fiji standing and advocating for multilateralism within the changing dynamics of geopolitics all over the world. Let me just say, Honourable Speaker, sir, on the missions, Mr. Speaker, the decision of government to close missions does not in any way mean that Fiji's interest in these regions have diminished. Quite the opposite. Honourable Speaker, sir, we are committed to taking relations to a strategic level. It means that the ministry will consolidate its resources and work smarter and be innovative in the conduct of diplomacy to manage our relations. As we have already alluded to in this House, we are closing Ethiopia, But that does not mean that we come out from there. Why did we go to Ethiopia initially? Because of multilateralism. Apart from the African Union, all the UN agencies, like we have here in the region, are based in Ethiopia, Honorable Speaker, sir. And not only that, Abu Dhabi, it's only 1 hour away, and we will look at reassigning that role to Abu Dhabi. And of course, in Brazil, we also will assign that role to Washington, and of course to Brunn in New York as well. Let me just conclude, Honorable Speaker, sir, that the budget of 2019-20 lays out the government's approach to build a strong and united Fiji. Through this budget, we will expand opportunities for our people to become their working best and to live a livable, enduring home, secure, and globally connected. Together in close partnership with all our people, international and regional development partners, civil society and private sectors, we can and will continue to take Fiji forward. Honorable Speaker, sir, I wish to conclude by saying that the budget allocations for both my ministries are more than adequate. It ensures that our operations are fit for purpose and we are well postured and ready to take on the challenges of the 21st century. The budget encourages us to work together and work smarter, be innovative, and to deliver excellent services for our people. It promises greater collaboration and partnership and ensures return on investment. Honorable Speaker, sir, thank you for giving me the time and the opportunity. And with this, I close by reiterating my full support for the 2019-20 national budget and commend it. May God bless Fiji, Honorable Speaker, sir.